Welcome, traveler. Tonight, you have nowhere to be and nothing left to do. The day is behind you now. Whatever it held, it is finished, and it cannot follow you where we are going. So settle into your bed. Feel the weight of your body sink into the mattress, and let your breath slow down all by itself. And before we set off, one small confession. This is the very first journey this channel has ever recorded. If it helps you drift off tonight, a quiet like, or subscribing for the voyages to come, would mean more than you know, but that can wait until morning. Tonight, none of it matters. Tonight is only about you and your rest. Tonight, we are taking a journey, you and I. A slow, unhurried voyage across our own solar system, from the fire of the sun to the cold, silent borderlands, where its light finally fades. There is no rush. There is no schedule. Every world will wait for us, as they have waited for 4.5 billion years. Before we go anywhere at all, notice something wonderful. You are already traveling, lying perfectly still in your bed. You are riding the turning Earth, and the Earth itself is sweeping along its orbit at 30 kilometers every second. You have been moving at unimaginable speed your entire life, and it has never once disturbed your sleep. Tonight will be no different. Every star you have ever seen in the night sky is a sun, some smaller than ours, some so large they would swallow half our solar system. Around many of them, worlds are turning. And on those worlds, it is night somewhere too. The universe is, for the most part, a very dark, very quiet place, where somewhere it is always time to rest. Tonight's whole journey, from the sun to the edge of its influence, is farther than any human has ever gone. And yet, light crosses it in less than a day. We will take longer because we are in no hurry. Think of this as the scenic route through your own neighborhood, the one you have lived in all your life and never once toured from end to end. And one thing you should know about space before we set out: it is silent. Truly, perfectly silent. Sound needs air to carry it, and between the worlds there is none. Every storm on Jupiter, every fountain of ice on Enceladus, every meteor and aurora we will pass tonight, all of it happens in absolute quiet. The universe, almost everywhere, is quieter than this room. You are simply joining it. And if you drift off somewhere along the way, that is not a failure. That is the whole point. The planets do not mind a sleeping passenger. So close your eyes. Feel the room grow soft around you, and let us slip gently out of the atmosphere and into the great quiet. Every journey needs a beginning, and ours begins at the heart of everything, the sun. From here, cradled in the dark at a safe and easy distance, it does not roar. It simply glows, steady and patient, like a hearth at the center of a vast dark house. It is difficult to feel how large it truly is. More than 1,000,000 Earths could fit inside the Sun. In fact, if you gathered up everything in the solar system, every planet, every moon, every asteroid and comet, all of it together would make up less than 1% of the whole. The Sun is everything else. We live on a crumb beside a bonfire. And here is a gentle secret about sunlight. The light being born in the Sun's core right now will take a very, very long time to leave. The Sun is so dense inside that a particle of light bounces and wanders from atom to atom for tens of thousands of years before it finally reaches the surface. Only then does it fly free, crossing the gulf to your face in just 8 minutes. Look closely at the Sun's surface from our safe and easy distance, and you would see it is not smooth at all. It seethes gently, like a pot kept just below the boil. It is divided into 1,000,000 rising and falling cells of golden gas, each one the size of a country, each one lasting only minutes before folding back into the glow. The Sun's face is never the same twice. It has never once repeated itself in 4.5 billion years. Sometimes dark freckles drift across that golden face. Sunspots. They look small, but many of them are larger than the Earth. They are cooler patches, where the Sun's tangled magnetism holds the heat below, and they come and go in a slow rhythm, a quiet pulse of activity that rises and falls every 11 years. The Sun, too, has its restless nights and its calmer seasons. And here is something almost nobody knows. The Sun rings. Like a great struck bell, its whole body hums with slow sound waves, millions of them, crossing and recrossing its interior. We cannot hear them across the vacuum, but our instruments can watch the surface tremble. And from that trembling, astronomers have learned to see inside the Sun, the way you might know a bell by its tone. The morning light that wakes you is poured from something that is, in its own way, always softly singing. It helps, sometimes, to shrink things. If the Sun were the size of an orange, the Earth would be a grain of sand 6 meters away. Jupiter, a small pea at 30 meters. And the nearest star, another orange, would sit more than 1,500 kilometers from the first. Between them, nothing but room. The universe is mostly made of distance, traveler, and distance is the softest material there is. Once in a while, the moon slides across the Sun, and for a few minutes, the daylight fails, and something hidden becomes visible. The corona, the Sun's outer atmosphere, a crown of pearl-white streamers, reaching millions of kilometers into space. It is always there, day and night, too faint to see against the glare. The gentlest part of the Sun, and the largest, and almost no one has ever seen it. Most beautiful things are like that, present all along, waiting for the light to soften. So the warmth you felt on your skin today was ancient light. It began its slow climb toward you before the first cities were built, wandered patiently through the sun for an age, and then finished its journey in the time it takes to make a cup of tea. The sun has been doing this quietly and without fail for 4.5 billion years, and it is only halfway through its long, calm life. We set off now, gliding outward, and the first world we meet is the smallest and the swiftest, Mercury, a little grey planet hurrying around the sun in just 88 days, so close to the fire that its sky is dominated by a sun 3 times larger than the one we know. Mercury lives a life of beautiful extremes. Its daytime is hot enough to melt lead. Yet at night, with almost no atmosphere to hold the warmth, the temperature plunges hundreds of degrees below freezing. It is a world of fire on one face and deep frost on the other, spinning slowly between the two. And it spins so slowly, in fact, that time itself feels strange there. On Mercury, a single day, from one sunrise to the next, lasts longer than its entire year. If you stood on its surface, you would circle the sun twice before you saw a single new dawn, 2 birthdays for every sunrise. Mercury is named for the swift messenger of the old gods, and it earns the name. It flies along its orbit at nearly 50 kilometers a second, faster than any other planet. And yet, for all its hurry, it keeps no company. Mercury has no moon at all, just the little planet and the enormous sun, circling in a silence that has never once been interrupted. It is also very slowly shrinking. As its iron heart cools, age by age, the whole planet contracts, and its stony skin has wrinkled like the peel of a drying apple. Great cliffs run for hundreds of kilometers across its face, some of them kilometers high, the gathered wrinkles of a world growing old. Mercury is not dying. It is simply settling, the way an old house settles, with long, slow sighs. Mercury once drove astronomers gently mad. Its orbit refused by a whisker to follow the old equations, and for decades people hunted for a hidden planet inside its path, tugging it off course. They even named it in advance, Vulcan. Telescopes searched for years, but Vulcan was never there. The answer, when it came, was stranger and lovelier. Space itself curves near the sun, and Mercury simply follows the curve. The little planet was trying to tell us how the universe works, all along, in its quiet, persistent way. Now and then, from Earth, you can watch Mercury cross the face of the sun, a perfect small black dot gliding over that enormous brightness for hours. Astronomers gather for it the way people gather for a rare bird. There it goes, the smallest of us, on its fastest of journeys, dwarfed and unbothered. There is something encouraging about Mercury. It is proof that you can be small and close to something overwhelming and simply carry on. Yet even here, so close to the furnace, there is a quiet surprise. At Mercury's poles lie deep craters where sunlight has never reached, not once, in billions of years. And in that eternal shadow, spacecraft have found ice, frozen water, sleeping peacefully on the very doorstep of the sun. Even in the harshest places, it seems, something soft can endure. Drifting on, we come to a world veiled in cream and gold. Venus. From Earth, she is the brightest star in our evening sky, the one you have wished on, perhaps, without knowing it was a planet at all. Up close, she is wrapped entirely in smooth, unbroken cloud, a pearl the size of the Earth. Venus is a world that refuses to hurry. She turns more slowly than any other planet, so slowly that her day is longer than her year, and she turns backwards. On Venus, the sun rises in the west and sets in the east, taking months to cross the sky. Imagine an evening that lasts for weeks, the light fading so gradually that no one could say when the day truly ended. Venus turns so slowly, but her skies do not. High above that still surface, the clouds race around the entire planet in just 4 days. A globe of wind endlessly lapping a world that barely moves beneath it. A slow heart, wrapped in a hurrying veil. She is so bright that on the darkest nights, away from every lamp, Venus can cast a shadow, yours, a faint one, on pale ground, drawn by the light of another world. People have walked by Venus light for as long as there have been people, and most never knew such a thing was possible. We have touched Venus briefly. Half a century ago, hardy little landers were sent down through the clouds, built like diving bells. They survived on that fierce surface for only an hour or two, but in that hour, they sent back photographs, our only pictures ever taken beneath the clouds of Venus. Flat stones, an amber sky, the light of a heavily overcast afternoon. And then, one by one, they fell quiet. Small monuments now, resting on the warmest plains in the solar system. Nearly every mountain, crater, and plain on Venus carries the name of a woman, from goddesses of 100 old religions to queens and poets and painters. A whole planet, inscribed like a long dedication. She is the only world we name that way. Our bright evening star, a library of remembered names veiled in gold. For most of human history, people thought Venus was 2 different stars. The bright one that rose before the sun they called the morning star. The bright one that lingered after sunset, the evening star. Phosphorus and Hesperus to the Greeks. It took time to realize the 2 were one, the same world, keeping both watches. She still keeps them now, closing each night shift as the last bright thing in the dawn. When Galileo first turned his telescope on Venus, he saw something that quietly changed everything. Venus had phases, like the moon. A crescent Venus, a half Venus, a full Venus. That could only happen if she circled the sun, not the Earth. A little lamp in his garden, and the old maps of the heavens folded up forever. Some of the largest doors in history, traveler, have been opened by the smallest, calmest observations. Beneath those lovely clouds, Venus keeps her fierce secret. The air there is thick and heavy, pressing down like a deep ocean, and hotter than any kitchen oven, day and night alike, pole to pole. Long ago, she may have had oceans of water, gentle and blue. Time and a thickening sky slowly warmed them away. She reminds us softly how precious a mild morning on Earth really is. And now, ahead of us, the most beautiful sight in all the solar system. A small marble of blue and white hanging in the darkness. Home. From out here, the Earth looks impossibly delicate, wrapped in a film of atmosphere thinner, in proportion, than the mist on a cold window. This is the only world we know of, anywhere, where oceans of liquid water rest openly under the sky. The only world where, as far as anyone can tell, something has ever looked up and wondered. Every fern, every whale, every sleeping child, every light in every window, all of it is gathered on that one small sphere. The Earth protects its passengers with a shield no one can see. Deep inside, its molten iron heart slowly churns, and that churning wraps the whole planet in a magnetic field. When the sun's wind blows too hard, the shield catches it and bends it and spills it harmlessly toward the poles, where it lights up the night as the aurora. Green and violet curtains, swaying silently over the ice. The shield has held for billions of years. It is holding tonight, over your roof, as you rest. Watch the night side of the Earth for a while, and you will see the weather breathing. Thunderstorms flicker across the tropics, dozens every second somewhere on the globe. Little silent pulses of light under the clouds. From up here, even the storms look peaceful, like fireflies under a blanket. And the moon returns the Earth's light in kind. On evenings when the moon is a thin crescent, look closely, and you can often see the rest of its darkened face glowing faintly, cradled in the bright arms of the crescent. That soft glow is earthshine, the light of our own oceans and clouds, reflected up to the moon and gently back again. Leonardo da Vinci was the first to explain it, 5 centuries ago. When you see it, you are seeing Earth's daylight, resting on the night side of the moon. Of all the Earth's quiet wonders, perhaps the quietest is this. It is the only place we know where water lingers in all 3 of its forms at once, drifting as cloud, resting as sea, and sleeping as ice. The same water, endlessly circling for 4 billion years. The rain that taps on your window some nights has fallen on dinosaurs, on early forests, on mountains that no longer exist. Nothing is wasted here. everything rests and returns. There is a small station up there tonight, with people in it. They have been living above the Earth continuously for a quarter of a century now, handing the keys from crew to crew. They circle the world every 90 minutes, which means that while you sleep your 8 hours tonight, they will watch 5 sunrises and 5 sunsets drift past their windows. When you wake, humans will still be up there, keeping the light on. We are already, in our small way, a spacefaring kind. And the Earth sits exactly where it needs to sit, a little closer to the sun, and the oceans would slowly steam away. A little farther, and they would lock into ice. Instead, here we are, in the narrow, mild ring astronomers call the habitable zone, where water can simply be water. Of all the lottery tickets ever drawn in the universe, the orbit you are sleeping on tonight is among the luckiest we know of. And notice, traveller, what you cannot see from here. There are no lines on the Earth, no borders, no walls, nothing dividing anything from anything. Just one small, calm blue world, all of it together, turning slowly in the sunlight. Astronauts say this view changes them forever. They go up as pilots and engineers, and they come home as gentle people. Beside the Earth waits her constant companion, the Moon. It has circled us since before there was an us. Born, we believe, from a great collision in the Earth's youth, when the debris of that ancient impact gathered itself quietly into a new world. The Moon is the stillest place we have ever visited. No wind has ever blown there. No rain has ever fallen. And so the footprints left by the 12 people who walked its dust remain tonight exactly as they were made, crisp and perfect, half a century later. Barring some wandering meteorite, they will outlast every building on Earth. The pyramids will wear away before those quiet footprints do. You may have noticed that the Moon always shows us the same face. It is not standing still. It turns, but it turns exactly once for every journey around the Earth. The two motions locked together long ago by gravity. Like partners who have danced so long, they move as one. There is no permanently dark side, only a far side, which has its days and nights like anywhere else. It simply keeps them private, facing always away, toward the deeper sky. The Moon gives us one more gift, so unlikely it feels arranged. The Sun is 400 times wider than the Moon, and it happens tonight to hang 400 times farther away. And so, from where you sleep, the two circles match in the sky, almost perfectly. That is why a total eclipse is possible, why the Moon can slide across the Sun like a lid, leaving only the trembling silver corona. No other world we know enjoys such a coincidence. And because the Moon is slowly drifting outward, the coincidence is temporary. In a few 100 million years, it will hang a little too far, and look a little too small, and total eclipses will end forever. We happen to be awake in the narrow age when the two lights fit. Sleep well, knowing you were here for it. When astronauts left equipment on the moon and struck its surface, the whole moon rang gently for nearly an hour. Moonquakes travel far there, through rock that is cold and dry and whole, like sound through a bell. The earth thuds. The moon rings. Even the ground beneath those still footprints has its own quiet music, played rarely and to no audience at all. The astronauts who walked there noticed something homely. Moon dust, carried inside on their suits, had a smell. They all agreed on it. Spent gunpowder, they said, or struck matches. The moon smells like the moment just after a firework. No one fully knows why. It is a strange and wonderful detail to fall asleep on, that the calm silver light on your curtains comes from a world that smells faintly of celebrations. And all the while, the moon is slowly letting us go. Each year it drifts about 4 centimeters farther away, the width of 2 fingers, the speed at which your fingernails grow. Long ago it hung enormous in Earth's sky. As it recedes, it tugs the oceans after it, breathing the tides in and out, twice a day, without ever missing a beat. The moon has been rocking this planet to sleep for 4 billion years. Tonight, it is rocking you. We leave the Earth and moon behind now. 2 lights growing small together in the dark, and sail on to the red sands of Mars. Half the size of Earth, twice as quiet. A world of rust-colored deserts, rose-colored skies, and a silence that has lasted for aeons. Mars is a land of giants. Here rises Olympus Mons, the tallest mountain we have found on any world, nearly 3 times the height of Everest, so vast that its base would cover France. And here yawns Valles Marineris, a canyon system as long as the United States is wide. If you stood on one rim, the far side would be hidden beyond the curve of the planet itself. A Martian day is almost the twin of ours, just 37 minutes longer. There are polar caps that grow and shrink with the seasons, morning frosts, afternoon dust devils that wander the plains like slow dancers, and in the evening, a gentle miracle. On Mars, the sunset is blue. The fine dust turns the light around the sinking sun, a soft, cool blue, a color no Martian evening has ever shared with a living soul. Mars keeps 2 small companions, Phobos and Deimos, fear and dread by name, though they are anything but fearsome. They are little lumpy moons, shaped like potatoes, probably captured wanderers. Phobos circles so fast and so low that from the Martian surface, it rises in the west and sets in the east twice a day, hurrying against the sky, and it is slowly spiraling inward. In 50 million years or so, it will come apart, and Mars, like Saturn, will wear a thin ring for a while. We have heard Mars, you know. Our newest rovers, carry microphones, and they have recorded the Martian wind. A soft, low, papery sigh moving over the rocks. It is the first weather of another world any human ear has ever listened to. It sounds, honestly, like sleep, like a planet turning over under thin blankets. And a small helicopter has flown there. A little machine the size of a lunchbox rose into that whisper, thin air, hovered and landed. The first flight on another world. It was meant to fly 5 times. It flew 72. Somewhere on those red plains it rests now, retired with honors. Dust settling softly on its still rotors. Even our machines, it seems, do their best work far from home, and then lie down in the quiet. Here is a secret you can hold in your hand, or could, in certain museums. Pieces of Mars have fallen to Earth. Long ago, great impacts on Mars splashed stones into space, and after ages of drifting, a few of them wandered into our sky and fell as meteorites. We identified them by the Martian air still sealed in their pores. Mars and Earth have been quietly exchanging letters for billions of years. Traveler, the postage is slow, but the mail does arrive. Some years, in its southern spring, Mars raises a dust storm that grows and spreads until it wraps the entire planet, veiling every mountain and valley for weeks. From Earth, Mars simply goes soft, a featureless amber pearl. And then, gradually, the dust settles. The volcanoes reappear. The ice caps gleam again. All of it rinsed in pink light. Even a whole world, it turns out, sometimes pulls the covers over its head for a while. And that is allowed. Our robots rest there tonight. The rovers we sent, some still working, some long asleep in the dust, all of them millions of kilometers from the hands that built them. One of them carries a small plate bearing the names of millions of people who asked to come along. Somewhere on that cold red plain, under a sky full of unfamiliar stars, your species has already left a guest book. Beyond Mars, we cross a region the films have taught you to fear, and the truth will help you sleep. The Asteroid Belt. Yes, there are millions of rocks here, but the space that holds them is so unimaginably wide that they almost never meet. Stand on one asteroid, and the next is usually 1,000,000 kilometers away, far too dim to see. Every spacecraft we have ever sent through the belt has passed without so much as a scratch. If you gathered every asteroid here and pressed them into one ball, it would weigh less than our moon. The belt is not a wall of stone. It is a thin scattering of crumbs left over from the solar system's construction, drifting in a ring of mostly nothing. Far along Jupiter's own orbit, ahead of it and behind it, drift 2 silent crowds of asteroids called the Trojans, gathered at the balance points where the pull of the Sun and the pull of Jupiter agree. They have idled there for billions of years, keeping pace with the giant-like gulls riding the bow wave of a great ship, never falling behind, never pulling ahead. The belt might have been a planet once, or rather, it might have become one. But Jupiter's great gravity stirred this region in the early days, forever nudging the pieces apart faster than they could gather. So the belt remains a planet that never happened, an unfinished thought, drifting in a ring. Some things in the universe simply remain possibilities and are no less peaceful for it. One of the belt's residents is unlike all the others. Psyche, a world of metal, iron, and nickel gleaming dully in the starlight, perhaps the exposed heart of a small planet that lost its stone. We have sent a spacecraft to see it. It may be the only place we ever visit that is essentially the inside of a world, the kind of core that sleeps unreachable beneath your feet tonight, 4,500 kilometers down, keeping the compasses honest. Nearly every meteorite that has ever landed on Earth, every iron mass in every museum, every stony pebble with its skin of black glass, began right here, in this quiet ring. The belt is the Earth's attic of spare parts. Now and then a piece slips free, wanders for a few million years, and ends its journey as a streak of light over someone's field and a stone in someone's palm, still cold from the deep or warm from the fall, and older than the ground it landed on. The largest of these leftovers is a small round world called Ceres, a dwarf planet of rock and ice, with bright, salty patches gleaming in its craters, where briny water once seeped up and froze. A quiet little world, keeping the middle of the solar system company. The belt asks nothing of us as we pass. It simply drifts and waits and remembers being young. And now the darkness ahead begins to swell, and the king of the planets rises before us. Jupiter. It is not merely larger than the Earth. It is larger than everything. All the other planets, moons and asteroids gathered together would still not equal it. 1,300 Earths could be poured inside and lost. For all its bulk, Jupiter is the fastest spinning planet of them all. Its enormous day lasts less than 10 hours. That furious spin stretches its clouds into the bands you see, rivers of cream and caramel and rust, each one wider than our whole world, sliding past one another in opposite directions, endlessly, without ever quite touching. And there, drifting in the southern clouds, the most famous storm in the solar system, the Great Red Spot, a single storm, wider than the Earth, that has been slowly turning for at least 200 years. It was already old when your great-great-grandparents were children. Entire human lifetimes begin and end, while that one red eye blinks not once. Over Jupiter's poles shimmer the greatest auroras in the solar system, rings of ultraviolet light larger than the entire Earth, glowing day and night without pause. Hours come and go with the solar weather. Jupiter's never switch off. The king of the planets sleeps, if it sleeps at all, with a crown of permanent light. Had Jupiter gathered about 80 times more gas in its youth, its core would have caught the same fire the sun carries, and our sky would have held 2 suns. It came, in cosmic terms, reasonably close. Instead, it remains a gentle, almost, a star that decided otherwise. Warming nothing, guarding everything. There is a kind of grace in that. Choosing to be a lantern rather than a fire. A spacecraft named Juno circles it now, swinging low over the clouds every few weeks, photographing swirls of storm that look, from above, like cream stirred slowly into coffee, like marbled paper, like things you have watched with heavy eyes on quiet afternoons. The pictures come home across the dark, and even the scientists who commanded them sometimes simply stop working and look. Jupiter spins so quickly that it cannot quite keep its shape. The great world bulges visibly at its equator, wider around the middle than a pole to pole by thousands of kilometers, like a ball of dough spun on a potter's wheel. Nothing that large should move that fast, and yet it does. Smoothly, silently, 10 hours to the day, and has done since before the Earth was finished. Under those clouds, lightning storms flicker with bolts 10 times the strength of ours, lighting the cloud decks from inside. Pale pulses in the ammonia mist. Spacecraft photograph them on Jupiter's night side. Silent blooms of light in the dark, like distant fireworks seen from across a bay, or like thoughts crossing a sleeping mind. Yet Jupiter is a gentle giant to us. Its vast gravity stands guard over the inner worlds, catching stray comets and flinging them away, or folding them into itself, as it famously did when a comet fell into its clouds in 1994. Astronomers believe Earth has been struck far less often because the giant keeps the watch. All those quiet ages, while life on Earth was slowly learning to breathe, Jupiter was minding the door. Around the giant turns a family of almost 100 moons, and 4 of them are worlds in their own right. They were the first things any human ever saw orbiting another planet when Galileo raised his small telescope 4 centuries ago and found 4 faint stars that would not sit still. The innermost is Io, poor restless Io, squeezed and kneaded by Jupiter's gravity until its insides melt. It is the most volcanic place in the solar system, repaving itself again and again. Next comes Europa, wrapped in smooth white ice, laced with rust-colored cracks. Beneath that frozen shell, almost certainly, lies a dark, warm, global ocean holding twice as much water as all the seas of Earth. Somewhere under Europa's ice, in that lightless water kept warm by the slow flexing of the moon, there may be something alive, no one knows. We have built a spacecraft to go and listen. For now, the ocean simply waits under its lid of ice, as it has waited for 4 billion years, keeping whatever secret it keeps. Io's volcanoes are not like ours. In that low gravity, they do not so much erupt as exhale, sending slow, umbrella-shaped fountains of sulfur hundreds of kilometers into space, where some of it drifts away to paint a faint glowing ring around Jupiter itself. We have photographed those fountains from passing spacecraft, silent plumes rising over the horizon of a little yellow moon, casting long shadows in the sunlight. All of this restlessness comes from a gentle cause. Io and Europa and Ganymede keep a perfect rhythm as they orbit 1, 2, 4 forever, and their steady tugging kneads each other's insides warm, the way hands warm dough. It is called tidal heating, but you may think of it as this. The moons of Jupiter keep each other warm in the dark, simply by staying close and never letting the rhythm slip. Europa may be leaking its secret. Telescopes have caught what appear to be faint plumes of water vapor rising from its surface. The hidden ocean, perhaps, breathing through the cracks. If so, a passing spacecraft could one day fly through that mist and taste an alien sea without ever touching down. The ocean has been sealed for 4 billion years, and it may be offering samples. And the ocean worlds keep multiplying. Ganymede's magnetic whisper hints at salt water deep beneath its ice. Even quiet Callisto may hold a buried sea. Astronomers now suspect that oceans under ice are the most common kind of ocean in the universe, and sunny shorelines the rare exception. All those dark, calm, sheltered seas everywhere, without a single wave breaking on a single beach. The universe, it seems, prefers its water tucked in. Then comes Ganymede, the largest moon in the solar system, bigger than the planet Mercury, the only moon with a magnetic shield of its own. And finally, Callisto, dark and calm, its ancient face so covered in craters that there is no room for a single new one. 4 lanterns circling the king. On a clear night, with steady binoculars, you can see them from your garden. Little pearls on an invisible string. We drift onward, and the light softens, and there it is, the one everyone waits for, Saturn, resting in its rings like a lamp in a paper shade. Even seasoned astronomers, who have seen it 1,000 times, fall quiet at the eyepiece when Saturn slides into view. The rings are not solid. They are countless billions of pieces of almost pure water ice, from dust grains to drifting boulders the size of houses, each one circling Saturn on its own obedient path. They stretch so wide that the gap between Earth and Moon would nearly fit inside them. And yet, in most places, they are only about 10 meters deep. If Saturn were a dinner plate, its rings would be finer than a human hair. The rings may also be young, and they may be passing. Some scientists believe they formed only 100 million years ago, perhaps from a small moon that wandered too close and was gently pulled apart. If so, the dinosaurs looked up at a Saturn with no rings at all, and in a few 100 million years, the ice will have rained slowly down into the planet, and the rings will be gone. We happen to be awake during the brief age when Saturn wears its crown. What luck, traveler! What quiet, enormous luck! At Saturn's North Pole waits one of the strangest calm sights we know. The clouds there flow in a perfect hexagon, a six-sided river of wind wide enough to hold two Earths, turning slowly around the pole like a mandala. It has kept its crisp corners for at least 40 years, probably far longer. No one is entirely sure why. Some patterns, it seems, simply find a shape they like and keep it. The rings themselves are not silent either. When Saturn's moons pass by, their gravity draws slow ripples through the ice, waves that travel along the rings the way rings travel across a pond, and freeze there as delicate grooves. Thousands of them. Scientists read those grooves like the lines of a record, and in them they can hear, faintly, the moons calling the tune. The whole ring system is a kind of music, played too slowly for ears, held in ice. For 13 years, a spacecraft called Cassini lived among these rings and moons, sending home 100,000 pictures. And when its fuel finally ran low, its keepers gave it the gentlest possible ending. They let it fall into Saturn itself, so that it could never drift into Titan or Enceladus and disturb whatever might sleep there. It sent data faithfully all the way down until the clouds closed over it, and it became part of the planet it loved. Even endings, done with care, can be a kind of thank you. Saturn's year lasts 29 of ours, so each of its seasons stretches over 7 years. The rings tilt slowly with them. For years we see them opened wide, a full silver bowl. Then, twice each Saturn year, they turn perfectly edge onto the Earth and, being only meters thick, they briefly vanish. Galileo saw it happen and thought, bewildered, that Saturn had lost its companions. They were there all along, of course, turned sideways. Some things do not disappear, traveller. They only face another way for a while. Within the gaps of the rings live tiny shepherd moons, some just a few kilometers wide, whose gentle gravity grooms the ice as they pass, raising slow waves along the gap edges, ripples a kilometer high, moving like the wake of a small boat on a vast, thin pond. One little moon, Daphnis, draws scalloped patterns that drift and settle behind it, over and over, forever. The most delicate gardening in the solar system, done in the dark, by moons the size of a town or. And one more soft fact to carry towards sleep. Saturn, for all its size, is the lightest planet of all. Mostly gas, lighter than water. If you could find an ocean vast enough, Saturn would float on it, rings and all. Picture that as your thoughts loosen, the great ringed world, bobbing gently on some impossible sea. Two of Saturn's moons deserve a slow visit of their own. The first is Titan, the second largest moon in the solar system, and the only one wrapped in a thick atmosphere, an orange haze deeper than Earth's own sky. For centuries it kept its surface hidden, a wrapped gift no one could open. Then we landed a small probe there, the farthest landing humanity has ever made, and found a world both alien and strangely familiar. On Titan, there are clouds, and rain, and rivers, and lakes, and seas, but they are not water. In that deep cold, it rains liquid methane, softly, through air thick as syrup. The raindrops fall so slowly there, they would drift down around you like snow. Its seas have names now. Kraken Mare, larger than the Caspian Sea, dark and still under the orange sky. Perhaps one day, something will sail there, an instrument of ours, tacking slowly across a sea no wind of Earth has ever touched. Titan waits, in no hurry at all. Titan's haze plays a strange trick. The thick, orange air actually cools the surface while warming the heights. A backwards greenhouse. And beneath it the light is soft and shadowless. A permanent amber dusk. If you stood there, the sun would be only a bright smudge, and the world would look the way a candlelit room looks through closed eyelids. We are going back, by the way. A flying machine named Dragonfly is being prepared. A drone the size of a car, which will hop and glide across Titan's dunes on that thick, forgiving air. It will drift from place to place, the way a leaf drifts across a lawn, sampling the sands of a world where the chemistry of life's beginnings may still be quietly rehearsing. Somewhere in this century, its rotors will hum in the amber light. Titan's air is thick, and its gravity is light, and together they produce a fact that sounds like a bedtime story, but is perfectly true. If you stood on Titan and strapped wings to your arms, you could fly. A person could take off under their own power there, sweeping slow strokes through the heavy amber air. Somewhere in the universe, there is a world where humans can fly like birds, and it has been circling Saturn patiently the whole time. As for Enceladus, when a spacecraft flew through its fountains, it tasted salt and silica and hydrogen, the signatures of warm water working on rock deep below. On Earth, the same chemistry feeds whole gardens of life around deep sea vents, in water that has never seen the sun. No one is promising anything, traveler, but somewhere under that bright white ice, in the warm dark, the ingredients are all present, and the kitchen is on. The second moon is small, white Enceladus, bright as fresh snow. From cracks near its south pole, it breathes tall, delicate fountains of ice into space, fed by a warm, salty ocean hidden beneath its shell. Some of that spray drifts up to become one of Saturn's rings, and some falls softly back, so that Enceladus is forever snowing on itself. A little world, quietly snowing on itself, in the dark, right now, as you breathe. The sun is far behind us now, shrunk to a bright and distant coin, and the worlds out here live in a permanent, gentle dusk. Out of that dusk rises Uranus, a smooth sphere of the palest blue-green, calm as a held breath. Uranus is the sideways world. Long ago, something enormous must have tipped it over, and now it rolls around the sun on its side, like a marble rolling along its orbit. Because of that tilt, its seasons are like nothing else. Each pole spends 42 years bathed in continuous sunlight, and then 42 years in continuous night. A single long day and a single long night, each lasting half a human lifetime. Uranus was the first planet ever discovered. Every world closer in has been known since before history. Bright wanderers anyone could see. But in 1781, a musician named William Herschel, sweeping the sky from his garden with a homemade telescope, found a slow green point that no chart contained. In one quiet evening, the solar system doubled in size. It had been waiting there all along, just past the edge of everyone's attention. Its moons carry the gentlest names in the sky. They are named not for gods, but for characters from Shakespeare and Pope. Miranda, Ariel, Umbriel, Titania, Oberon, a court of sleeping players, circling a tilted king. And on little Miranda stands the tallest cliff we know of anywhere. Verona rupees, perhaps 20 kilometers of sheer ice. In Miranda's whisper of gravity, a pebble dropped from the top would fall for a full 10 minutes before it landed, drifting down like a feather in still air. A year on Uranus lasts 84 of ours, almost exactly a human lifetime. Someone born tonight will be elderly when Uranus finishes the single lap it begins as they draw their first breath. One orbit, one life. It makes the planet a kind of clock for a whole biography, hands moving too slowly to see, keeping perfect time with somebody's story. Its rings were discovered by accident and by shadow. Astronomers were watching Uranus drift in front of a distant star, hoping to learn about its atmosphere, when the star blinked several times before the planet arrived, and blinked again in mirror image. After it had passed, something unseen was circling Uranus. Thin hoops of darkness, revealed only by the light they briefly borrowed. Even in astronomy, some things are found not by their shine, but by the way they interrupt someone else's. Imagine that night, traveler. Decades of stars, decades of stillness, a darkness the length of a career, and no one there to find it strange. And deep inside Uranus and its blue sibling, scientists suspect something wonderful. The pressure may squeeze carbon into showers of falling gems. It may, quite literally, rain diamonds down there into depths no one will ever see. Wealth beyond counting, falling forever for no one. And then, the last of the planets, Neptune, a deep, dreaming sapphire, so far from the sun that its noon is dimmer than an earthly dusk, and its year lasts 165 of ours. Since its discovery, it has completed just one full journey around the sun. Neptune was found not by a wandering eye, but by mathematics. Uranus was drifting slightly off its expected course, and astronomers reasoned that something unseen must be tugging at it. They calculated where that something ought to be, pointed a telescope, and there it was, within a degree of the prediction. A world discovered on paper first. The universe, it turns out, keeps honest account. You might expect the farthest planet to be the sleepiest, but Neptune hides a strange vigor. The fastest winds in the solar system race through its blue clouds, 5 times stronger than the fiercest hurricane on Earth, though with so little sunlight to stir them that no one is quite sure why. Even mysteries out here are quiet ones. Only one of our machines has ever seen these blue worlds up close. Voyager 2, sweeping past Uranus in 1986 and Neptune in 1989. A few hurried days of photographs at each, and then onward into the dark. Everything in our books about them comes largely from those brief visits. They are worlds we have met only once, the way you might share a single train journey with a stranger and think about them for the rest of your life. When Voyager flew past, Neptune wore a great dark storm the size of the Earth. When our telescopes looked again, years later, it had simply gone, smoothed away, and new ones had drifted up elsewhere, like slow bubbles in deep water. Neptune's face changes over the decades, unhurried, unobserved for years at a time. It keeps its weather the way some people keep their thoughts, quietly and mostly to itself. Noon on Neptune is 900 times dimmer than noon on Earth. But be careful imagining darkness. 900 times dimmer than daylight is still 200 times brighter than a full moon night. Noon, there is a deep, luminous dusk, the blue clouds glowing softly under a small, sharp sun. You could read a book by Neptune's noon, though you might, quite reasonably, prefer to sleep. And no one alive has seen a full year there. Neptune was discovered in 1846, and it completed its first observed orbit only in 2011. 165 years for a single circuit. Everything in human history since its discovery. Every invention, every song you know, fits inside one Neptunian year. The outer worlds keep a different calendar, traveler, and by their reckoning, all of this happened this year. Circling Neptune backwards against the spin of its planet, glides the moon Triton, a captured wanderer from the icy borderlands, pulled in long ago and kept. Its surface of pink nitrogen frost sighs slow geysers into the black. And because it orbits the wrong way, Triton is very slowly spiraling inward. In some far distant age, it will drift too close, break gently apart, and give Neptune a ring of its own. Even endings out here become something beautiful. Beyond Neptune, the solar system does not end. It softens. We enter the realm of the small and the far, and its most beloved citizen, Pluto. Little Pluto, farther from the sun than you can easily imagine, where noon is a deep twilight and the sun is just the brightest star among stars. For most of a century, Pluto was a mystery, a faint dot even in our best telescopes. Then, in 2015, a small spacecraft called New Horizons swept past after a 9-year voyage, and the dot became a world. And what a world! Mountains of water ice, as tall as the Rockies, ancient red plains, and there, on its brightest face, an enormous glacier of frozen nitrogen, shaped, quite sincerely, like a heart. A heart the size of a country, slowly churning, renewing its own smooth surface over millions of years. Pluto turned out to be not a dead stone, but a gentle, living landscape of ice. And it does not travel alone. Its largest moon, Charon, is so big that the two of them waltz around a point between them, always showing each other the same face. Two small worlds, holding hands in the dark, forever. Pluto was found by a young man from a farm, Clyde Tombaugh, hired to compare photographs of the night sky, 2 by 2, night after night, searching for one dot among hundreds of thousands that moved. After 10 months of patient looking, he found it, and decades later, when New Horizons flew to Pluto, it carried a small container of his ashes on board. The man who found the little world was, in the end, the first to visit it. His discovery portrait hangs now in the space he searched. The name Pluto was suggested by an 11-year-old girl at her breakfast table in Oxford in 1930. Venetia was her name. Her grandfather passed the idea along to the astronomers, and they voted, and the little world had its name. She lived long enough to see spacecraft aim for it. Somewhere on your ceiling tonight, traveler, is a shadow of that same story. The universe holds room for breakfast table ideas. As New Horizons swept past, it looked back and caught Pluto backlit by the far sun, and around that small dark disk glowed rings of blue haze, layer upon layer, a delicate sky wrapped around a world 3 billion miles from anywhere. Even out here, on the cold rim of everything, evenings are blue. Some habits, it seems, the universe keeps everywhere. Pluto's path crosses inside Neptune's for 20 years of its long orbit, and yet the two can never meet. For every 3 orbits Neptune completes, Pluto completes exactly 2, a perfect ratio that keeps them always apart, like 2 people who walk the same park on different schedules forever. The solar system is full of such arrangements, quiet agreements older than any promise, kept without effort, kept without end. After Pluto, New Horizons flew on and visited the most distant world any craft has ever seen up close. A small, soft, reddish thing named Arakoth. 2 gentle lobes resting against each other, like a snowman leaning into its own shoulder. It formed out here in the quiet, was never melted, never battered, never hurried, the best preserved leftover of the solar system's first days. The farthest thing we have ever touched with our attention, traveler, turned out to be calm and unbroken and softly rounded by time. All around them stretches the Kuiper Belt, a vast, sparse ring of icy worlds, thousands of them, the unused pieces from the making of the planets. Eris, Makemake, Haumea, names like distant bells. Out here, the solar system keeps its attic, everything old and cold and perfectly preserved, resting in the dim starlight. From this frozen attic come the comets, the solar system's slow messengers. Each one is a small mountain of ancient ice and dust that has waited out here for billions of years, until some gentle nudge sends it falling, slowly at first, toward the distant sun. As a comet nears the warmth, it begins, softly, to breathe. Its ices turn to vapor and stream away, and it grows 2 long glowing tails, one of dust, one of charged mist, both pushed outward by the sunlight and the solar wind, which means the tails do not trail behind it, as you might think. They always point away from the sun, so when a comet finally turns for home, it travels tail first, like someone walking slowly backwards out of a lit room, still facing the light. Some comets return like old friends. The most famous of them visits every 76 years, and human lives are measured against it. Mark Twain was born under it and left with it. Others take so long, tens of thousands of years, even millions, that their last visit was watched, perhaps, by no one at all, and their next will be watched by we cannot imagine whom. You have already met the comets, by the way, more often than you know. When the Earth crosses the old path of a comet, the dust it scattered long ago streaks into our air as shooting stars. The meteor showers of August and December, the wishes you may have made on a falling light, were made on comet crumbs. Some of them older than the Earth itself, ending their billion-year journeys as one bright second over your town. We have even landed on one. A spacecraft called Rosetta chased a comet for 10 years, a strange duck-shaped mountain of ice, and set a small lander named Philae on its surface. The little probe bounced twice in the feeble gravity, settled in the shadow of a cliff, did its work, and went to sleep. It is still there tonight, riding its comet around the sun, a passenger on a snowbank, forever. Some visitors pass through who were never ours at all. A few years ago, astronomers watched a small object sweep through the solar system on a path no local body could follow. It had come from another star. We named it Oumuamua, a scout, a messenger from far away. Soon after, a second interstellar wanderer passed, and then another. The doors, it turns out, have always been open, and things have been drifting from star to star all along, like seeds across a field at night. The Oort cloud is held so loosely that the sun shares custody of it with the galaxy itself. When another star passes in the far distance, ages apart, its gravity strokes the cloud, and a few sleeping comets are loosed to fall inward, beginning journeys of 1,000,000 years toward the light. The comet that graces some future century's sky may be starting its descent tonight, nudged by a star whose light you could see from your window if you rose. But do not rise. It will keep. And far, far out, beyond everything we have passed, astronomers believe the whole solar system is wrapped in a vast, faint shell of trillions of sleeping comets. The Oort cloud. It reaches, perhaps, a quarter of the way to the nearest star. That is the true size of home traveler. Not the orbits of the planet, but this immense, tender halo of ice, holding everything softly, like a snow globe around a single warm light. Somewhere out here, moving through the dark ahead of us, is a small machine with a golden heart. Voyager. We built 2 of them in 1977, when the planets happened to line up in a way they do only once in nearly 2 centuries, and we sent them on the grand tour. Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. They visited them all, and then simply kept going. Voyager 1 is now the most distant thing human hands have ever made, so far away that its radio whisper, traveling at the speed of light, takes nearly a full day to reach home. Its power is fading now. One by one, its instruments are being tucked in and switched off, like lamps in a house at bedtime. But it still calls home, faithfully, a voice grown very quiet from very far away. Bolted to its side is a golden record. On it, the sounds of Earth, greetings in 55 languages, rain and surf and birdsong, Bach and Beethoven, a human heartbeat, and the recorded brainwaves of a young woman newly in love, an hour of her thoughts, drifting now between the stars. The 2 Voyagers will outlast almost everything you can name. Their power will fade within a few years, and they will fall silent. But silence will not stop them. They will simply coast, out through the Oort cloud, out among the stars, for billions of years. In 40,000 years, Voyager 1 will drift past a small star in the constellation of the Giraffe. Closer to it, than to our sun. No one will be at the controls. It will just pass, quietly, the way a bottle passes an island at night. It is very likely that when the sun itself has grown old, when the Earth is no longer the Earth we know, those two small machines will still be out there, unmarked and unharmed in the emptiness, carrying their golden records of rain and birdsong and Bach, the longest lasting things humanity has ever made are not the pyramids, traveler. They are two whispers sailing away in the dark, still faintly saying hello. On the cover of each golden record is etched a map. It shows the position of our sun against 14 distant lighthouse stars, the spinning remnants called pulsars, each labeled with its precise rhythm. Any finder who understands it could trace the way back to a small yellow star and its third planet, and us. We did not only say hello, traveler, we left directions home. It remains the most hopeful thing our species has ever engraved. The records themselves are plated in gold and sealed in aluminium, built to last 1 billion years in the vacuum. 1 billion years. Nothing else we have ever made comes close. The message will outlive the messengers, the language it was written in, perhaps the continents themselves. Two small discs of music and greetings, the longest letters ever posted, still in the mail long after the address has changed. No one will likely ever find it. Space is too large and too empty. But that was never really the point. The record was our way of saying we were here, and we loved things, and we made music. Long after our mountains have worn down, that golden disc will still be out there, perfectly preserved in the silence, carrying a heartbeat through the dark. Perhaps yours is slowing to match it, even now. And now, traveler, we arrive somewhere with no ground, no ice, no stone, an invisible shoreline. All this way, we have been traveling inside the sun's long breath, the thin wind of particles it exhales in every direction, a great bubble of its own weather, wrapped around everything we have seen. Out here, at last, that breath grows too faint to push any farther. It meets the wind between the stars, older and stranger, blown from other suns long ago, and the two come to rest against each other. This gentle meeting place is called the Heliopause. It is the true edge of the sun's realm, its front door. When Voyager 1 crossed this line, a few years ago now, its instruments felt the change. The familiar wind from home fell away behind it, and the deep cosmic quiet folded in around it. No spacecraft had ever left home before. Somewhere ahead of us tonight, both Voyagers are out there in that older wind, still going. The first of anything of ours to swim in the open sea between the stars. This great bubble of the sun's wind is not just an edge on a map. It is a shelter. It softens the constant rain of ancient, fast particles that wander the galaxy, the shrapnel of long dead stars. Inside the bubble, we live behind a gentle curtain. So even at its farthest border, thousands of times farther than the Earth, the sun is still doing what it has always done, standing between its family and the deep, holding the door. The bubble itself is not round. As the sun sails around the galaxy, its long breath streams out behind it, so the heliosphere trails away like a windsock, or like the wake of a slow ship. Our whole solar system, everything we have visited tonight, is traveling together inside that wake, one warm household, moving as one through the wider night. Even the news from out here is slow. Voyager's signal, traveling at the fastest speed the universe permits, takes almost a full day to cross the distance home. When its keepers send a command, they wait 2 days for the reply. Conversations measured in days, between an old machine and the people who still faithfully call it. Out here, even a whisper takes its time, and everyone has learned to wait kindly. And understand, traveler, this border is a doorstep, not a fence. The sun's gravity reaches on, far beyond its wind, holding the whole Oort cloud in its long, patient arms. A quarter of the way to the next star, the sun's house ends here, but its family extends into the dark for trillions of kilometers more. Home, it turns out, is always larger than the lit rooms. You know this. You have felt it. The porch light reaches farther than the porch. Let us pause here too, right on the threshold, and feel it. Behind us, one warm star and everything it holds. Ahead, the open galaxy. The crossing is silent. There is no sign, no gate, no sound. Just the softest possible change in the dark, like passing from a warm room into a cool hallway. On your way, at last, to bed. Before we finish, traveler, turn around with me. Look back the way we came. From out here, the whole of our long journey fits within a single glance. The giants, the rings, the red desert, the little blue world, all of it gathered close around one modest golden star. Years ago, when Voyager passed a place near here, astronomers turned its camera around for one last photograph of home. In that picture, the Earth is smaller than a single grain of light, a pale blue dot caught by chance in a soft ray of scattered sun. Everyone who has ever lived there. Every story you have ever heard happened on that dot. All the wars and reconciliations, every festival, every first day of school, every goodnight kiss ever given, all of it, on one small point of pale blue light. That photograph was taken on the 14th of February, 1990, on a suggestion from the astronomer Carl Sagan, who felt we ought, just once, to see ourselves from the far shore. After the pictures were sent, the cameras were switched off forever to save power for the long voyage, which means the last thing Voyager 1 ever looked at before turning its face to the stars for good, was home. Even from Pluto, even from the Kuiper Belt, the sun remains by far the brightest star in the sky, casting real shadows on the ice, giving real, pale light at noon. You could stand at the edge of everything we have traveled tonight, and still, without any doubt, point home. That is worth keeping somewhere soft in your mind. However far you go, the light that raised you stays visible and stays the brightest thing you know. Some find that thought frightening, but lying here, at the edge of the night, perhaps you can feel what it really is. It is comforting. All that smallness means that everything you carry, every worry that followed you to bed tonight, is smaller still. From out here, none of it can even be seen. Only the calm blue of the oceans and the soft white of the clouds and the quiet gold of a star, keeping its family warm. Our journey rests here for tonight, and the doorway of the stars. Ahead of us stretches the open dark, 4 long years of light between this shore and the next lighthouse, a small red star called Proxima, where other worlds circle and wait. That crossing is a story for another night. The stars are patient, and so are we. So let the journey settle over you now, like a blanket. Somewhere behind you, the sun is quietly making light that will not leave it for 1,000 human lifetimes. The moon is minding the tides. The giant is keeping the watch. The rings are holding their impossible shape, thin as paper, wide as the sky. The little heart on Pluto is slowly turning over in its sleep. And a small golden record is sailing through the dark, carrying birdsong and Bach and a human heartbeat, asking for nothing, just going on. The whole solar system is doing what it has always done, calmly, perfectly, without any help from you. Nothing out there needs you tonight, traveler. You are free to rest. Feel how heavy and warm your body has become. Here, at the edge of everything, your breathing has grown long and slow, all by itself. The way the tides move, the way the rings turn. There is nothing left to hold on to, and nothing that needs holding. The dark between the stars is not empty, traveler. It is just quiet. It is the quietest room in the house. And tonight, the whole family is sleeping in it. One day, if you like, we will go farther, past the sleeping comets, across the 4-year dark, to the small red star next door and its quiet worlds, and onward, in later nights, to the places where stars are born and where they rest, and to the slow silver wheel of the galaxy itself. The universe is very large and very old and very patient, and it will still all be there tomorrow. Nothing beautiful is ever in a hurry. So let your breath be long and easy. Let the bed hold you the way the night holds the planet, without effort, without asking. When we meet again, we will cross the great dark together, out toward the neighboring stars. But that is for another night. For now, there is only this quiet room, this soft gravity, this slow, warm dark. Good night, traveler. Sleep now.
Thank you.